happy to have you today. I'm here to introduce our Master of Ceremony, a true champion of transportation funding for Pennsylvania, Secretary of Transportation, Barry Shook.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Today, I want to celebrate it, and Chairman McCosey is behind me, but he was a champion of this as well. Act 89 brought a lot of improvements, and will bring a lot of improvements to Pennsylvania. Every way we move a person, product, or good or material through the Commonwealth was addressed in Act 89. And this is probably our first celebration of a major project undertaking as a result of that. And I just want to say, Les Tosos here, my district executive, we're going to focus on SEPTA, but this is an improvement for Les as well, because when we hear about what's happening here with this train station, it's also going to make an improvement to traffic circulation and our improvements. So it's a project that's multimodal in nature. It's one that we think is illustrative of what Act 89 was all about. And it's illustrative also about the fact that we're moving Pennsylvania forward, making a better Pennsylvania for the future, and not kicking the can down the road and let stations like this just sit and not get taken care of. So it's my pleasure to start things off to introduce Tom Judge, who certainly was born and raised here and knows this area better than anyone probably can talk about it. Tom, I'd like to introduce you and let us lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for being here.
Everybody, please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Back here. We decided to do this inside. I hope y'all didn't mind. We weren't going to go outside today. At this point, Joe Casey's general manager of SEPTA, and they've been a great partner for us at Department of Transportation. I want you to think about, many times when we talked about the need for Act 89, we talked about, if you could imagine, if our forefathers had not decided to invest in mass transit in Philadelphia, what would have happened to Philadelphia and what would have occurred here without mass transportation. SEPTA is a great organization. It's well run. Joe Casey is a great general manager. I'm going to introduce him to have him tell you about this project and others related to it in SEPTA here. Joe?
Thank you, Barry. Good morning, everyone. We're absolutely thrilled to be here for the announcements of the improvements at SEPTA Seacane Station. This project marks the official launch of SEPTA's renewed capital improvement program, funding with resources as a result of Act 89. First, I want to thank the Governor Corbett, Secretary Shook, and Representative McCosey, the Chair of the House Transportation Committee, for their leadership in passing a comprehensive transportation program for all Pennsylvanians. This Seacane project will come in phases. The first phase will be a parking expansion, adding 60 car spaces for our customers, and also to address some of the continuing ridership demand. After the parking expansion, we will build a brand new station with all the modern amenities. Part of the project also includes building high-level platforms and a pedestrian tunnel. The station, when complete, will be fully ADA accessible. But in addition to the benefits for our passengers, this will also allow us to have significant relief for traffic congestion around the station. But let me talk about the media line. The media line with the infrastructure needs risks shutdown within a couple of years. With this project, we will now move ahead with repairs over 3 major viaducts, over Cobbs Creek, Darby Creek, and Ridley Creek. We'll also begin design for the replacement of the viaduct over the Crum Creek Bridge. We'll also be able to initiate the overhaul of the major power substations at Morton and Lenai. Act 89 funding will allow us to pursue these type of improvements throughout the SEPTA region. We will award over $700 million in capital improvement projects over the next few years. I want to conclude by thanking the Delaware County delegation, not only for the votes for Act 89, but for the leadership. And I just want to recognize Senator Pileggi, Senator Erickson, and on the House side, of course, McCosey, Representative McCosey, Representative Adolph, Representative Killian, Representative Donatucci, and Representative Hackett. Thank you very much for your leadership. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Chair of the House Appropriation Committee, Bill Adolph.
Thank you very much, Joe. First of all, I'd like to welcome Governor Corbett, Secretary Schutz, for all the leadership that they provided over the last couple of years in trying to put this transportation bill together. I want to assure the residents of Delaware County, the residents of southeast Pennsylvania, that this was not something that was put together overnight. When the governor first took office, he put together a commission and came out with a plan and talked about the needs from Philadelphia all the way to Erie. Whether it was rural roads, whether it was SEPTA, Port of Pittsburgh, we put it all together. And it was a well thought out plan. The original plan thought we needed about $3.5 billion. We put together a plan that was $2.3 billion. And we phased it in over a 5-year period, so the taxpayers and the residents of Pennsylvania would not feel the dollar amount overnight. Barry was absolutely full of information for us and helped us explain it. But the man, and it's going to be 60,000 is the estimate, new jobs here in Pennsylvania, and I don't think that should be overlooked. 60,000 new jobs. In this region alone, we're going to put together about $1 billion for new trains. And Governor was up there in Morton and went to the substation and saw the condition of that substation, 1928. I mean, I don't think we're throwing money down the tubes. I mean, the technology has improved just a little bit since 1928. The train stations along this route, there's 11,000 daily stops on this route. 11,000 daily. So we really put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and this was a bipartisan support. We could not have done it with just Republican votes. We got an awful lot of help and support from our Democrats here in Delaware County as well. So, and I don't want to leave them out. Okay, this was truly a bipartisan effort led by Governor Corbett, and I want to thank him for this leadership, because it takes a lot of courage to put together a plan like this. And whether it was Senator Pelleggi or Senator Erickson in the Senate, my colleagues here, Tommy Killian was just absolutely superb. He has firsthand expertise because he was a member of the SEPTA board. But there was one man who was very influential, an integral part of this whole plan, and that was my dear friend, Chairman McCosey, who at the time was the chairman of the insurance committee for many years, and our good friend Dick has passed away, and Chairman McCosey stepped up. He stepped up to a plate, and I tell you what, most politicians would have run away from that challenge. But Uncle Nick, as I call him, stepped forward and really was an experienced voice, a soothing voice when it came to talking to some of our younger legislators, and provided the courage that needed to get this done. No one represents the 163rd District like Nick McCosey does. He's a special individual, and it's my privilege to introduce to the folks here today, Chairman Nick McCosey.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really honored that you come down to the Phil Seacane area. And of course, it's my friend here, the secretary. The governor, you know, he did not campaign that he was going to get past $2.3 billion transportation legislation. In fact, some of his colleagues would like to take him out to the tree and hang him.
They're your calls.
Talk about 1928 and 1930. Of course, there were two people here who were just about around at that time. It's me Tom Judge and I, and that's I'm not kidding there. Tom was born 1928. I was born 1930. So we've been around a long, long time. I've always said that unless we do something for these little, the areas outside of Philadelphia, or even Philadelphia, but especially the little boroughs and little townships in our area, whether it be Delaware County or any place, they're going to continue to deteriorate. And one of the most important areas in that redevelopment, you want to call it, is trains. Is SEPTA, in our area, SEPTA. SEPTA, if we didn't pass this bill, a lot of the bridges were deteriorated, as my friend here, the secretary, has over and over and over has said that in his speeches. So I'm honored, and I thank everyone for coming, and Governor, again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. It's good to have people here who can remember what it was like when this was new, right? So that's what it'll look like again. In addition, you've heard a little bit about the other elected officials, and I want to thank the delegation as well as recognize them again. Senator Ted Erickson's here, State Representative Tom Killian, State Representative Joe Hackett, State Representative Maria Donatucci are all here, and all of them were supporters of this and also were integrally involved in the discussions of this bill. And like Representative Adolph said, this didn't happen overnight. We had a lot of dialogue, a lot of thoughtful dialogue about what was needed, what needed to occur, and how we needed to fund it. And I want to thank the delegation here. You were all very supportive. I want to thank you for both your dialogue on it and the discussions we had that led to the successful conclusion of Act 89. In addition, we have County Council Member John McBlain is here, Upper Darby Mayor Tom McCosey. McCosey, a familiar name. I know. That's a familiar name.
You're in the cozy.
Upper Darby Councilman John Rankin, Councilman Jacob Beerling, Councilwoman Sakila Coles, our Upper Darby Chief Administrative Officer Tom Judge, who obviously introduced the Pledge of Allegiance, and Tom, and along with Nick, can give the historical recordation of what occurred here over the last 80 years. Councilman Jamie Santora is here, Chair Municipal Clerk Rick Nolan, and also County Councilwoman Barbara Kiefer is here. So thank you for all the elected officials who attended today. I appreciate your help. At this point, I want to turn the program over to my colleague on the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, Pat Dion, who also is the chairman here of SEPTA. And when you talk about knowledgeable people in transportation, Pat's someone who I've worked with for my entire career here in Pennsylvania, and he understands and knows the needs on the highway side, knows the needs on the SEPTA side, and has been a champion for this the whole way through. Chairman Pat Dion.
We've already covered everything I was going to say with everybody here, but I'd like to thank again everybody in the House and the Senate. They did a great job putting this together. But I'd like to go back in time just about a year ago when my fellow board members, like Tom Babcock, my vice chairman here, Kevin, anybody else? Sorry, you got to tie a balloon on you so we can see you. But Tom Ellis and now you know what we all put up to. And former board member Tom Killian, and we sat, we were in our board meeting, we're literally talking about closing down service, shutting off service, curtailing service all through the system, which would have affected millions of people, millions of rides. Governor Corbett and the administration stepped up a year ago, even during your speech, you're coming up on again, and stepped up, said transportation's important. They passed this bill. It was a great bill. I think it's going to keep SEPTA good for the next, at least 5 years. We'll be fully spending the money. To the next election, we'll be good. But it's just so important to have this system in here for job creation, for the generation it does for taxes and benefits for this region. Everybody got it correct. Barry, we're really blessed to have a secretary that understands transit and transportation in the city. It's a very good mix. So I can't thank the governor enough and the state and Representative Marcosi for putting this together with Senator Rafferty. And it was a great team. They did a great job. I do want to point out one thing. If we were out here closing the station right now, none of these guys would be here with us. So, again, thank you, Governor. I'd like to introduce the governor. There's done the introduction, but thank him again personally for doing this. And come on up, Governor Corbett. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, all of you, for being here. But more importantly, thank you for all the work that you did.
You're right that we started off with a transportation commission. And, you know, there have been people who said, well, the governor has all these commissions. But each one of those commissions that I've had in the 3 years that I've been governor has produced a result, has produced a product. And not necessarily that we took every recommendation of all those commissions, but we have taken many, whether it's for the Post-Secondary Education Commission or the Manufacturers Commission, but particularly here with the Transportation Commission. People have to understand that when we get on in our cars and drive down the highways or get on the train and go down there, oftentimes we just accept it as it's there and it's always going to be there. And we forget to look underneath the carriage. We forget to look underneath the car to see if it's in good shape, and every once in a while it's not, and you end up going into the repair shop and paying a pretty good bill. Today I had the opportunity to go to the Morton substation to see something that's been around longer than Nick's been around. And the paneling is exactly the same. In fact, here's one of the pieces that they gave me, an extra one from it. That's what it looks like from 1928-29. Okay, looking at the equipment. I guarantee you the technology today looks a little bit different than it does here. But it's never been upgraded during that entire period of time. In fact, I think, I hope I'm not speaking out of school, one of the gentlemen indicated to me the lines have been turned on the entire time. And they're afraid of turning them off that they won't turn back on again. Well, that's not a good thing, okay? Because this transit line and the highways 95 and the Blue Route and everything, they're part of the arteries, if you will, of this region. You know, last week I had the opportunity to speak at the announcement of a new tower that Comcast was going to build right in Center City. And the architect talked about Center City being the heart of the region. And it truly is the heart of the tri-state region, not just here in Pennsylvania. But if you're going to have a heart, you have to have the arteries. And I said the building is going to be a center part of that heart. Well, you have to get the people in and out of the city. Some live in the city, they're going to take buses, or they're going to take trolleys, or they're going to take a SEPTA train, catching it in the northeast and coming down, or here. Well, the same thing occurs in the suburbs. And the suburbs have grown because you have a transit system, and we have that around the state of Pennsylvania. So that at the time that we were dealing with this transportation bill, there are members of the House and the Senate. Some have interest only in transportation and rebuilding roads and that kind of, and bridges and that kind of infrastructure. Some were particularly looking at the transit system and understanding that we need to be able to get people in and out. 11,000 trips on this train, that means 11,000 people. Conservative estimate, 5,000 cars going in and out of the city of Philadelphia. Can you imagine adding 5,000 more cars to Interstate 95 coming up from Delaware and then coming back out of the city of Philadelphia? Or going on, God forbid, the Schuylkill Expressway at this part in time. You know, I know a lot more people would be taking the single streets going into the city of Philadelphia and the traffic that would create. And those arteries, as I call them, would be clogged. And that's exactly what we're trying to prevent, because we're looking at the maintenance and we're looking at the upgrade. And yes, there were members that were opposed to doing this on both sides of the aisle for many, many different reasons. But sometimes this is about leadership, and the members here provided that leadership. Representative Micosi, as chairman of the Transportation Commission or Committee in the House, provided that leadership. Senator Rafferty over in the Senate provided that leadership. The leaders in the caucuses provided that leadership. Democrat members that joined on, and thank you for joining us. Maria, she everywhere I go in Philadelphia, she's there, and we enjoy that. It is a bipartisan issue, and it's bipartisan not just between a Republican and a Democrat. It is a bipartisan between business and industry and labor, where everybody work together to understand that this is for the greater good of a region and the greater good of a state. It's for the greater good of the Commonwealth. The little, you know, the history teacher in me would remind people, we're one of only 5 commonwealths. It means the common good. And that's what this is part of. And this bill is for the common good of the people of Pennsylvania to be able to have that transit and have that transportation. But more importantly, we are now being looked at nationally and internationally for what we were able to do here. In fact, I know that there's some news organizations that are comparing what we did here in Pennsylvania to what is not getting done in Washington and the Congress in getting the transportation bill done. Now, I know Congressman Schuster is working very hard on the transportation bill, and I'm very pleased that he's from Pennsylvania. And I'm hoping to see that we'll be able to get a transportation bill that will be able to help us in what we're doing, so we'll have an even greater flow of funds. And I'm sure, Pat, you would love to see some more money coming from Washington, because it is part of the nation as a whole. It is part of that transit system. You look at 95 going on here. That's the artery from Washington, or well below Washington, all the way to Boston. And if you want to keep going south, all the way down to Florida. It is an artery of the country. We're a section of it. So it's important to grow business. Businesses are looking at Pennsylvania right now. A great reason they're looking at us, because of our location. We were right in the middle of it all. 60% of the population of North America is within a long day's drive, or train ride, of Pennsylvania. It's because of our energy, it's because of our workforce. And now we get to add on transit. We get to add on transportation. And if you're a business looking to locate, similar to just yesterday, we announced an environmental company, EcoSave, establishing their American headquarters and workforce down at the Naval Shipyard. One of the reasons they look at this is because now we have that location, we have our energy, but we also have our transit and transportation. This is going to add to our portfolio of what we can go out and sell Pennsylvania to the rest of the country and literally the rest of the world. You know, we are always in competition. We are a global competitor now. And this bill has allowed us to become a stronger global competitor, to be able to go to Europe, to be able to go to South America and Southeast or Asia and talk to them about Pennsylvania in the United States is a good place for you to do business. And what's it going to do? It's going to provide us jobs. You know, you've heard the estimates, 50, 60,000 jobs. Let's talk about what would have happened if we didn't have this bill passed. Estimates I've heard, Barry, 12,000 jobs, if I recall, being lost. We just got a report out today of our unemployment here in Pennsylvania. The report for December, we went down to 6.9%, the lowest it's been in Pennsylvania since 2009. We are moving in the right direction. If you add on over the course of the 5 years of this bill, and frankly this bill has the effect of more than 5 years, because you're going to invest, you're going to be able to leverage, particularly with bond work and everything, and you partner that, and Barry could do this better than I can, talking about our public-private partnership and what we're doing with the private sector, and we're encouraging them to give us ideas of how we can stretch that money even further. We're going to be able to employ more people, up to the point of maybe 50 or 60,000 more people. The Pew Trust, a few weeks ago, issued a report that estimated that Pennsylvania would add 76,000 jobs in 2014. I don't know, I doubt that they were considering what the transportation bill was doing when they came up with that, and that transportation bill is going to be able to add more. But because of that transportation, because of everything we did, I think you're going to see more and more coming to Pennsylvania. Oftentimes I've said that Pennsylvania's best days are ahead. We've made some very, very tough decisions. We have a few more tough decisions to do. But when you see more businesses coming, just like in EcoSave, where you see down in the port, the Fibria, announcing that they're moving their their shipping out of Baltimore into Philadelphia. And you see that we saved the refineries, and the refineries are growing. You see a company like Braskem out of Brazil expanding their reach here in Philadelphia at the refineries. You see all of this coming together. You understand it doesn't happen overnight. It takes planning. It takes good hard work. It takes leadership from the members of the House and the Senate, and from my office to do this, and with my Secretary of Transportation. Pennsylvania's best days are ahead. This is a big start, and I hope that when this is replaced, you all invite me back here so we can do the ribbon cutting on this. Thank you all very much.